To say a couple of remarks by way of conclusion and to thank the panel very much before I have to go in order to participate in some democracy back at the House of Commons. And I'm sorry that I can't stay with you for longer, genuinely sorry. First of all, Hugh, I hugely enjoy the way in which you conduct debate with good humour, and that's how we should certainly continue, not least in your threat to stand as Police and Crime Commissioner in my county of Sussex. But I must just point out that the survey that was done of the public by Consumer Research, the 30% who responded that they were dissatisfied with the contact they'd had with the police were members of the public, not criminals. And once we've stopped laughing, I think we'll realize that that is actually quite a serious matter. In respect of collaboration, I should just repeat the policy. The government is not going to go down the route of compulsory merger of police forces. The previous government tried that. Many of you in this room led the opposition to that. Even if we thought it was the right policy, as I have said many times, it is not politically deliverable. The House of Commons will not vote for it. We are determined to drive stronger collaboration, and my judgment is that police and crime commissioners will actually be strongly incentivized to do that, not least so that they can make savings and so on. In relation to voluntary mergers, and the reference was made to Hertfordshire and Bedfordshire, the position is that we will not stand in the way of voluntary mergers of police forces where there is a robust business plan and where there is community consent. But the position was that the Hertfordshire electorate was clearly not willing to accept that as expressed in the view of their elected local political representatives. And I do not intend that national government should override the wishes of locally elected people in that respect. And the important thing there is then to focus on the savings that can be made that do not represent full merger but could represent, to coin a phrase, ever closer union. Hugh, you need to, I know that you are in favour of a smaller number of forces, and I respect your view. We have a respectful disagreement of opinion about that, but console yourself with the fact that there are only 43 forces and not 17,000, as Chuck reminded us of. Dennis, I hope that it's not true that you haven't got much time left, and I look forward to discussing with you whether you're going to conduct a cost-benefit analysis of our reform proposals, but actually in the first instance it's going to be Parliament that takes a view on them. Chuck, thank you for your really interesting and insightful comments about the US situation. I'd love to have a hard copy of your speech and reflect on what you were saying and to meet further. I thought you gave us some really interesting insights, and we all very much appreciate you coming over to tell us. I should just say on budget cuts, it's certainly true that we've had to make a sharp fiscal correction in this country, and that the United States over the course of the last few years has chosen not to make as strong a fiscal correction. But I understand from meeting the Deputy Commissioner of Police in New York a few weeks ago that he pointed out to me that New York police have had a 10% reduction in their workforce as a consequence of budget cuts over the course of the last decade, and crime has fallen in New York over the same period by a third. And it's one of the points that I like to make, including the opposite point, that in countries like Sweden and Spain, crime has been rising at the same time as police numbers have been rising, that there is no simple correlation between numbers and crime. It is, of course, about the effectiveness and efficiency of deployment. I think we all share the goal that we would like to see more police officers whenever we possibly can, but we have to confront the fiscal realities. A couple of concluding points to try and pick up on issues that were raised. In relation to independence, I should just say the government, we tried hard to respond to your view that you wanted an extension of independence, and we've done that, and we've just recently extended the period to 5 years, which will bring in a whole lot more police authorities within the ambit. So we really were trying to address that issue. But to the groans that we were trying to address the issue, and to those that say that there's a problem with the process, I'm very happy to look at that, of course, as Stephen ably indicated. But it was your advice to us that said that there should not be an automatic passport of independence that we followed. and that therefore requires to be a process. It was your advice to us, and that is why that process was introduced. Now, if we can de-bureaucratize it, I think that would be a very good thing. I'm happy to look at that. But please do not criticize us for when we have taken your advice and did not, therefore, automatically passport independence. On Peter's point about the budget figures, it was made very well, and we will, as Stephen said, be announcing the settlement in due course. I'll simply repeat what I've said many times over. We will look at all of these issues on their merits, including damping, the contribution that forces can make through local precept, and so on. There is no pot of gold. No force should believe that there's somehow an escape through grant settlement that is going to suddenly make the challenge a whole lot less. I do not believe that that is the case, and I don't think any of you in the room would think that otherwise. But we will announce the formal settlements as soon as possible, and we've done it as soon as possible after the grant. Brian, I just want to say how much, Brian, I value you as a coalition partner. And I'm sure that you, like me, are therefore attentive to the coalition agreement. And as to the cost of this policy, I have repeatedly said that we will be announcing the costings at the time that we introduce the bill, because we can't announce costings before the design of the policy is complete, and we have attempted very hard to respond to the consultation and to involve all of you in discussions about the design. So that's the right sequence, and then decisions about how we engage in transition come after that. Thank you very much indeed for having me here. I would just like to reflect upon a text that was sent to me recently by a friend a few weeks ago, who asked me to note the fact that the president of Ecuador had just to be rescued from his own police force, who had taken him hostage after he had attempted to review their pay and conditions. He had been rescued by his own armed forces. I haven't yet started on the business of recruiting a Republican Guard, but I thank you for listening patiently and politely to what I know was sometimes an uncomfortable message today. Thank you very much.